afternoon. My name is Chris Gray. I am a spokesperson for the U.S. Army's Criminal Investigation Command based out of Quantico, Virginia, and the multi-agency law enforcement task force led by Army CID here at Fort Hood into the tragic shootings of the incident that took place on Wednesday. I'm here today to provide you with an investigative update on regard to the ongoing criminal investigation. Unfortunately, and as you know, we lost 4 soldiers on Wednesday, to include the shooter was one of those soldiers. That number includes 16 others who were wounded. On behalf of all law enforcement working this case, both civilian and military, let me begin by expressing my sincerest condolences to the loved ones, the families, the soldiers, and the friends of the wounded and killed during this tragic incident. I will be providing as much releasable information as possible today, but please keep in mind this is an ongoing criminal investigation, and we are only releasing facts at this point that we feel confident will not jeopardize the ongoing case. As you know, the Fort Hood Directorate of Emergency Services, the military police, Army CID, and a host of other law enforcement professionals began responding to reports shots fired at approximately 4:16 p.m. on Wednesday. Numerous reports of gunfire and wounded personnel were received, and it continued at various locations, which contributed to the chaos and confusion associated with the initial reports. The alleged shooter, Specialist Ivan Lopez, initially opened fire with a Smith & Wesson .45 caliber semi-automatic handgun near the intersection of 72nd Street and Tank Destroyer Boulevard. The entire crime scene encompasses almost a 2-city block area. We do have credible information he was involved in a verbal altercation with soldiers from his unit just prior to him allegedly opening fire. The subject then proceeded to travel to 2 other nearby buildings, entering those locations and opening fire. In transit to those locations, while in his personal vehicle, he indiscriminately fired at other soldiers while moving from one location to another. At this time, we are still gathering evidence and processing a very large crime scene, so we will not be giving you a step-by-step timeline of the activity of the investigation. The alleged shooter then encountered a responding military police officer and approached her. Subsequently, there was a verbal exchange between the two. The military police officer drew her assigned firearm and fired 1 round when the subject brandished his weapon. We do not believe the subject was struck, but we are currently confirming that fact with the Armed Forces Medical Examiner. Based on witness statements and other testimonial evidence to date, the alleged shooter then placed his firearm to his own head and fired 1 round, killing himself. Those actions by the alleged subject and the military police officer are obviously part of the ongoing investigation. At this time, we have the 1 alleged subject connected to these shootings, and all evidence at this point in the investigation indicates that the subject acted alone in the actual shootings. We have no evidence thus far that contradicts that finding, but it is critical to point out that we are not ruling anything in or out at this early stage of the investigation, and we will continue to aggressively pursue any and all credible leads and information associated with this case. There were initial reports that there were possibly 2 shooters involved on Wednesday, but that has been attributed to the chaotic nature of the situation and the alleged shooter's movement from location to location, as I described earlier. Additionally, we have not found any links to terrorism or any international or domestic or extremist groups at this time. But again, we have not completely ruled that out in order to conduct a complete and thorough investigation. Within the large crime scene I described, there are 3 significant crime scenes inside buildings and 3 areas outdoors that we are focusing our case on. Those scenes are currently being processed by highly trained CID special agents, Texas Rangers, and members of the FBI's elite evidence response team. That processing includes evidence collection, crime scene recreation, triangulation of evidence, studying the flight of the bullets fired, and 3D scanning of the crime scene. To date, we have canvassed and interviewed more than 900 people during the course of this investigation. Immediately following the shootings, CID, along with the assistance from the military police and outside agencies, took positive control and screened more than 1,000 potential witnesses and possible suspects in the immediate vicinity before releasing them back to their units. At this point in the investigation, we have well over 150 special agents from Army CID, FBI, and the ATF, as the General mentioned, as well as the Texas Rangers. The weapon allegedly used in the commission of these crimes has been recovered as evidence, and we will be processing that at the Defense Forensic Science Center's U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Laboratory in Atlanta, Georgia. We will conduct firearms forensics and ballistics testing to confirm the shots fired during these crimes came from that specific weapon. We have also confirmed through our investigation that Specialist Lopez purchased the firearm recovered at the crime scene on March 1st from a local establishment outside Fort Hood, but brought it onto Fort Hood in violation of DOD, Army, and Fort Hood regulations. We have not uncovered any history of criminal convictions or previous criminal activity by Specialist Lopez. At this time, we have not established a concrete motive, but we will do everything in our power to do so. Given that the alleged shooter is deceased, the possibility does exist that we may never know exactly why the alleged shooter did what he did. But again, we are bringing the very latest technology and investigative methods to bear to attempt to find out. Finally, since Wednesday's incident, we have received tremendous support from the fellow law enforcement professionals and the greater Fort Hood community, both inside and outside the gate. Army CID would especially like to thank the following agencies for their teamwork and professionalism during this very difficult time: the FBI, the ATF, the Texas Department of Public Safety, and the Texas Rangers, the Fort Hood Directorate of Emergency Services, the Killeen Police Department, the Parker Heights Police Department, Coryell County Sheriff's Office, and the Temple Police Department. We'd also like to thank Lieutenant General Milley and his staff for their tremendous support and cooperation while we are conducting our investigation. Let me assure you, we are fully committed to this investigation. That concludes my update today. We are not releasing any further details. I appreciate your patience and understanding during this very, very difficult time. Thank you.